If you want to know the truth, pull up and listen in. There's truth on tap and lies on ice. Cold, all facts with a little bite. No ivory tower, no pilot spin. Just crack glass talk and a one down pen. Raise it slow. Let the real one speak. Pints and politics every damn week.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, AI is awesome right now.
That it is. We'll see how it progresses.
Right.
I was in a gas station traveling this week, and one of those robotic floor waxers is going around.
Oh, hey, man, I was just at a bowling alley here with my kids and some of his friends celebrating his birthday, and the food delivery is a robot with several layers, and it just goes to your table.
Yeah.
And you pull it off the robot. And I'm like...
And it still wants a tip.
I was like, what is this, Back to the Future? So anyway, welcome back to Pints and Politics, the filing period episode.
Yes. We just got done filing for re-election.
Yeah. It's been a busy weekend for both of us. We'll talk about that. You went on the road, spreading the word over in Kentucky.
I'm tired if you can't tell.
Yeah, and we're actually filming on a Monday because of the busy weekend that you had traveling. So, and we'll talk about that and highlight your press conferences and whatnot that you did in Kentucky. But yeah, first things first. Today's first day of filing, man.
Yes.
Good to meet you over there. And we saw some other friendly faces.
Tommy Atkins was there whenever he came in.
Yeah, he was filing for county council. Representative David Martin was there.
Yep.
And a few other folks. But it was pretty slow. I think Tommy Atkins, I ran to him in the hallway when he was going out. I was coming in. He said Representative John King was the first one there. He beat everybody, but so
John was ready.
Yeah, man. But before we go too far, I want to thank our sponsor, Coburn Distributing, again, the OG, for this week's tasty beverage.
Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. I ain't even trying to read that. Was it Seaquench Ale?
Yep, Seaquench Ale. It's an ale with lime, and it's a little different.
It's got a kick. You got to get through the first sip.
Yeah, it's like a wheat beer that's got a citrus lime presence with a little bit of salt. So if you like salt in your beer, which my father-in-law always will throw a little bit of salt, even in his Bud Light, which is your favorite beer, he will probably really enjoy this beer. This is I would say, if you go on a cruise, order this. You know what I mean? This is warm weather type of beer.
Yeah, I mean, I taste the lime for sure. Mm-hmm. But
so again, thanks for
great art,
distributing for
can art.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You are a fan of the can art.
Yeah.
So just not gummy bear art. I got you. So yeah, man. Let's talk about maybe this past week. I know you had a lot of stuff going on the weekend. We did pass budget last week. We did pass tax conformity.
Yep.
So
tax cuts.
Yep. And then we also passed the income tax cut that is headed to the governor's desk. And we'll talk all about that kind of stuff in a little more detail. But what was your overall just feeling coming away from the budget? I mean,
just same shit, new day.
Yeah.
It's the games. It's where people are trying to get their campaign talking points. We've been working really well together. I'd say all caucuses. And moving things forward, and the budget is one of those that shows where that narrative starts coming out. I've seen some posts saying, the establishment and the Democrats voted together.
You're right.
That seems to be the common thing.
And again, I sort of echo that sentiment. It's unfortunate, but it is the reality that we live in, right?
Yep.
That a handful or two handfuls of members can sit and throw up amendments, whether it's zeroing out someone's budget, zeroing out a director's salary, whether it's wiping away Parks and Rec funding, whether it's cutting down on investments in higher education, whatever the issue is, they can do all of those things and play this ridiculousness game.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's responsible folks who are there to govern and represent their districts and still pass a balanced budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the frustrating part for me is, man, I wonder if all of us just wanted to act a fool.
You mean people that want to vote against parks and then ask for Hard grants?
Yeah, we talked about this in our midweek sip, and it's another bell I think that needs to be rung again.
Yeah.
Because, folks, look, could we improve our state budget? I would say yes every year, right? It's not perfect.
I think it is improving.
I think it is too. I'm just saying, I agree with a statement. Can we improve our budget? Sure, probably. If I was king for a day, could I write a budget that spent less than taxpayer dollar? I would hopefully say yes, right? But that's not the reality of which we live, right? We live in
the fastest growing state,
and the reality that has high growth, right? Aging infrastructure, and a massive amount of folks from out of the state moving here.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely frank. I think that for the past 30 years or so, we haven't addressed road and bridge repair to the level it should have been. And so guess what we got to do now?
Now
we
we
got
have
to
to
catch
do
all
it.
that up. And so there's just a lot of investments that need to be made, and reasonable, responsible members have got to come to the House floor and debate some of those issues, and not just do these prank gotcha amendments.
The talking points.
And just to run a campaign. And so I was a little frustrated with some of that stuff. Some of it got to just a level of where I just walked out. I just got out of the room because I knew this debate was going to go on for a while. And I didn't want to keep listening to the back and forth.
Well, and I, giving credit where credit's due, I did kind of catch Josiah and Nathan talking on the floor. Mm-hmm. And Josiah's like, okay, I'll pull it and we could talk later. So he went to the Ways and Means Subcommittee chairperson, was talking about the issue, and he was saying, okay, well, we can address it this way. And he's like, okay, I'll pull the amendment.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the way that things should be done.
Yep.
To have the conversation. And I talked to another member. They were like, how are we supposed to make any changes? Or why would y'all vote against this amendment? I said, look, have you talked to the subcommittee chair?
Ready to upgrade your ride? Head to Burn Chevrolet for the newest Chevy trucks, SUVs, and cars. Priced to move and ready to roll.
Shop the entire lineup and schedule your test drive at BurnChevyCadillac.com. Burn Chevrolet, your right choice for 100 years.
Yep, and so I'll add a little bit to that. My desk is on the front row, and it's just off from the well. And so everyone usually sets up at my desk. So whether it's just a normal
That's
week,
just because he's not there.
I was over in the Senate. No. But so during just regular floor debate, a lot of times they'll post up right there, and they'll use my desk. I'll just clear it off and say, yeah, use it. During budget week, there is always someone sitting there, right? Yeah. Because there's always someone who has to, the subcommittee chair on Ways and Means, whatever part of the budget that's being discussed, they've got to sit there and be able to give sort of the retort or the response to whatever the amendment is that's striking or adding something, right?
I'd be like, no, you got to move over this way.
And so, I mean, there was a subcommittee chair, Leon Savranakis, who was over sort of Parks, Recs, and Tourism, which got a lot of amendments. And I think after like the fifth or sixth one to, strike funding for, I don't even know what it was, but it was funding parks or rec or tourism in our state. I asked Leon, I said, hey, Leon, can I ask you something? I said, all of these amendment authors, could y'all not work this out prior to the budget? And he said, they never came to me. And I said, really? He said, they attended a subcommittee hearing every now and again or whatever. He said, but never once did they come to me, offer an alternative idea or the amendment idea, and then actually try to bring that to me so we could maybe find a common solution.
Yeah.
Right? And I said, well, that just tells y'all all I need to know.
Yeah.
Because that's not serious. Like, if I really want to change something, I'm going to the author of whether it's a bill or a budget section or the subcommittee chair or the chairman. And we've learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you do. Like, you go to the person who is responsible for shepherding that bill through. And a lot of times it falls to the subcommittee chair.
If you really want to be effective.
Right.
Then that's the way you have to do it.
Effective in governing.
Right.
But I
Not
would
campaigning.
argue Maybe they want to be effective at campaigning. And again, to each his own, but that's, again, the disappointing part that we run on 2-year terms. And so it's like we can govern for like a year and a quarter, or so, and then it comes back to the games again. And that, again,
I had Liberty Action sitting in the balcony telling them.
Yeah, I saw that guy. That was a little disappointing too. But so anyway, that was my takeaway too. But I did appreciate Chairman Bannister's remarks on Wednesday when we passed third reading on the budget.
Yeah,
where he talked about this budget was a balanced budget, but in his mind, it was also a hopeful budget, right? That we're investing in the future of South Carolina for the next 50 years. We're putting us on a path to cutting taxes to zero income tax. You know what I mean? So it was all these reasonable, responsible ways of spending taxpayer dollars, but investing them in the priorities of roads and bridges, education, teacher pay, law enforcement, all those types of things. And at the end of the day, I was, this is the sort of the first crack at the budget.
Right.
So it's going to head over to the Senate, which they'll probably take up here, about 3 weeks? Once they're done with it, it comes back over to us. Hopefully we can pass it out by, what do you think, mid-May?
Hopefully. I mean, this budget, H1, everyone gets all worked up, and I'm like, this is H1.
It's the draft.
It's the draft to send to the Senate for the Senate to say, no, we got to make these changes.
Right.
We got to improve this. We got to do that. Mm-hmm. And then they send it back to say, oh, we got these cuts in the budget. And then we decide, okay, this budget, that budget, combined, what are we keeping, what are we not?
Yeah, right.
And then we have the appropriations in there.
Yeah, and folks, a lot of times we compare our state budget to sort of a marriage, right? Whereas it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
The budget's not getting any.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. But no, it's one of those things where it's between the House and the Senate, it's like spouses, right? They're both advocating for their priorities, and it's a give and take. It's a push-pull, right?
Yeah.
It's not hey, from on high, the speaker says, and it shall be so.
But that's
right?
even with bills.
Yeah. And so, but sometimes bills can be perfect. You know what I mean? But so
we're talking about that next.
That's going to be that push pull. That's going to be that give and take between the House and the Senate that will, progress and develop over the next month or so, and we'll give the states, a final budget, hopefully before we get out of session.
Oh, that'll be done before then. Yeah.
So yeah, that was our budget week. And here in the next segment, we'll talk about. We also took up the income tax bill. That was a House bill, went over to the Senate. They made some changes, kicked it back to us. We concurred on some amendments, and then also talk about some tax conformity.
Yep.
This episode of Pints and Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties. All right, so let's talk about this income tax bill because, we're getting some flack on social media that we raised. This bill actually raises taxes on 22% of the folks. And so I wanted to get some...
Not that it lowers taxes on 78% of the folks.
Do the math. Look, if you got 78 approval rating or 78% of the vote every single time, I'd take it. But, so again, those talking points are out there talking about perfect being the enemy of good, right? But folks, this is currently right now, we are paying 6% income tax. Obviously, depending on your income, but what this does, it takes that 6% bracket down to 521. Long-term goal of that going to a 199 with an eventual phase out to 0, right? And that's dependent upon economic triggers of how the state's economy is doing.
And this is what we come up with last year after the initial flat tax filing of the bill that we were all going to sign on to, and the economic impact statement came back showing that it would, because not many people were paying taxes. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
That it would raise their taxes.
Yeah, who knew 44% of South Carolinians don't pay
Right.
income tax. And when you hear those numbers, that is correct. 44% of folks in this state don't pay state income tax, which that means that burden of funding 44% of the state budget falls on 56% of us. Okay? And so this misnomer that we're raising taxes on 22% of South Carolinians at an average of what they say, $20, $25 a year, folks, they weren't paying income tax. Okay? And again, I understand you're going to say, oh, Heath, why do you hate poor people? That's not it. But $20, I think, is a small investment, and it gets folks all in the same boat of paying an income tax.
I think everyone should pay the same percentage regardless of how much money they make.
Well, and again, we're trying to flatten this out. Right now, we're going to go to 2-tier, and hopefully we'll go down to bring it all, flatten it into 1 with a path to 0, right? But let me go over some of the data points that this bill will do. It's an immediate tax cut worth over $308 million and a total of $3.8 billion of income tax reductions since fiscal year 21-22. I've already covered it takes the 6 bracket down to 5-1 with a long-term goal of 199 flat rate and then an eventual elimination to 0. Also, the assertion that 77% of filers will see a tax cut or no change in year 1, and that the first $30,000 of taxable income will be taxed at only 199 to protect lower income residents. Also, keep all current exemptions, and those are for families, veterans, seniors, and small business, while making the tax code flatter and more competitive for jobs and investment.
Which that was one of our problems with the initial bill. It didn't have all of those tax cuts.
That's right. We're also de-linking from the federal system. But what we found out is through that first debate was there are some of the exemptions that are hard to give up.
Yeah.
Right? And so we tried to take some of those exemptions that prioritize or match the priorities of say, the Republican caucus, right? Those family deductions, those deductions for seniors, veterans, and small business. So in this final bill, that got amended. Also, claims that the reforms will reduce dependence on I already talked about this, the federal tax policy. This also increases your take-home pay via the updated withholding tables and yield a low 2.5 effective income tax rate below the national average. And so those are just some of the highlights. And again, folks, I don't know how flattening our income tax isn't a conservative ideal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this has been talked about since, I believe, Steve Forbes made it a national issue back in the day when he was running back in the 2000s. And it just sort of went away. This idea of flattening.
It was a Ron Paul thing.
Yeah.
Flat tax.
And
fair
so
tax.
now all of a sudden, we're using numbers and scare tactics of we're raising the income tax on, or we're raising taxes on 22% of South Carolinians. Folks, let me clarify. Those folks weren't paying any income tax at all. What this bill does, it asks them to pitch in 1.99% of their income, which, we've equated to about $25 a year. And so again, some of that kind of stuff, we just wanted to get some of that out there because I did receive one call after we passed it where someone had some concerns. And
it's just because the only thing they get in their information from is York County GOP's website.
Well, and social media and some other things. But again, that's what is outlined in the bill. Again, that was House Bill 4216. If you want to go check it out for yourself and do a little homework, and feel free, always contact us here at pintsandpolitics.show. If you do have questions, concerns, we will put up a reel or some info on that bill. If you have some legitimate questions or concerns, not just, criticisms or making fun of Guffey's hair, we will we will address those issues. Short on time in Rock Hill? Swing by Burns Tire and Quick Service Center for fast, reliable auto care to fit your schedule. Tires, oil changes, brakes, in and out without hassle.
Easy, quick, and right here in town. Burns Tire and Quick Service. we keep Rock Hill rolling.
Hey, but we also did something else. The budget.
Tax conformity.
Yeah, that's right.
So what that is extra tax breaks for seniors. If you're 65 or older, you get to deduct or subtract $6,000 from your income before taxes. If both spouses are above 65, then of course it would be 12. But it will help seniors pay even less in taxes. It's a bigger standard deduction. It will increase the amount, which means less income getting taxed. So new amounts in 2025, a single person will be $15,750, married couple $31,500, head of household would be $23,625.
Would you get that deduction? Or would Melissa get the head of household deduction?
I just do what my accountant says. Nah.
But yeah, and again, this is all in regards to the passage of the big beautiful bill.
One
right?
big beautiful bill.
Yeah, and so when they had some changes that were included in that bill, this is the state's effort to conform to those changes that were directed out of D.C.
Right, but it will also give larger state and local tax deductions. Right now, the cap is $10,000, but it will temporarily raise it to $40,000 in 2025. People making over $500,000 slowly will lose the benefit, and high earners will eventually go back to the $10,000 limit. But it is a path to give those deductions right now.
Yep, and some of the more, I think, well-known parts of the One Big Beautiful Bill was we heard no taxes on overtime hours, right, and no taxes on tips. This, and again,
both
this
of
was
those
all incorporated, right?
Yeah, conduct up to $25,000 in income on tips without being taxed on it on the state level. Another cool thing about it is if you get a loan to buy a personal car, then you can deduct up to $10,000 in interest that you pay on that loan. So that is important, and hopefully it will incentivize people writing off research for small businesses.
Gotcha.
You'll be able to write that cost off immediately. But yeah, I mean, this is getting us in line to allow our families and our businesses keep more of the money that they earn.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, three big things that were all done just in 1 week on the House.
Yeah.
Passing our budget, passing the tax conformity, and then passing House Bill 4216, which was the income tax reform with the Senate amendments. That bill is now headed to Governor McMaster's desk for signage.
Yes.
So three big things we did in the House this week, and that was just Monday through Wednesday. So let's get to the fun part of your week. You hopped on the road.
Yes.
Right.
So we got the Struggle Bus 3.0, the electric one. Woogie, woogie, woogie.
That's right.
You know,
Hey, and it's looking good, man. It's got some artwork.
Got
the
it wrapped.
Wu-Tang
Yep.
representing. Yeah, man, folks, if you haven't checked it out, we should definitely post that on the Pints and Politics.
we'll get a picture of it.
yeah, that's good.
Still in the works. We're gonna add more, take off some.
Yeah.
But
We need
we're
to get
getting
like
the
some
look
fat
right.
heads, of us, put it on the bus,
There is a pop Funko on there.
Actually, mine could just be actual size.
But yeah, I had to drive it to Louisville.
Oof.
Now, coming from Columbia is about a 10-hour trip, right? Mm-hmm. But it's electric, so you have to stop and do charging. Now, I've never taken a long trip like that, so I'm just trusting what the car says for charging stops. And the first stop we go to, I mean, we went through tornadoes, first thing, and then...
And this is when I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You were a little frustrated because you're backtracking through Asheville, right?
Yeah. Trying to find a charging station that worked because the first two Duke ones I pulled up to were not working.
Uh-oh.
And some of them charge slower than others. So instead of it taking 30 minutes to charge up, it might take an hour. I didn't want to waste that time. So yeah, the first trip was about 13 to 14 hours going up there. Now coming back, it was about 12. So it wasn't as bad coming back.
Right.
I'm learning. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I love the idea, the whole way, electrical wise.
Hey, and the whole...
Instead of fuel, maybe I spent $150.
And the whole time, you're wearing skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Now that you're an EV driver, you got to wear skinny jeans and a hoodie. All right, so...
I was about to go past PG. I'll leave it alone.
Right. So you're heading up to Kentucky for what, though?
To the National School Board Conference, the COSSBA 2026.
Okay.
I spoke at the state school law convention this year, and then they ended up sponsoring me to go up there to speak on the national level. So I forget the lady's name, the lady that played the wife on the Cosbys. She's from Chester. Felicia Rashad.
Yeah.
She was one of the speakers there as well. But I gave a presentation to school boards all across the country, or school board members and
this is
staff.
Strictly about Gavin's Law and some of the educational components and all those things, right?
This was and primarily because, to me, the most important thing in Gavin's Law is the educational component. Mm-hmm. And while it's harder to get states to do it, and that's one thing, I had to testify via or virtual testify in Michigan for
while you're going
Jordan's
to Kentucky.
Law, while I'm going to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then coming back, setting up to testify in Kansas again. So, but yeah, the education, if a state does not have the education mandated, then the school boards can implement education, even if it's something simple as posters.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Or tech classes. Many of them, some of these states have, privacy classes or tech savvy classes,
right,
like teaching the kids how to work on things online, but they're not really talking about the crimes.
Yeah.
They're not talking about the sextortion and the exploitation.
And I do think, and again, you won't say it except for in press conferences, but I will say it here on the podcast, is that is like the advocacy side of what you're doing. I think, I'm not saying it's more important than the office of which you hold, but I think it, we always talk about how God puts you in the places you need to be when you need to be there. I think this is very important part of what you're doing right now. I know you're representing District 48 here in South Carolina, but you have the compelling personal story of your experience and the tragedies that befell your family, and you have taken that thing, flipped it, and man, shown strength through that tragedy. I mean, you now documented it in a book.
Yep.
That's going to be released here soon. And to spend
already
your
a
weekends,
bestseller. Just thanks to our 2 listeners.
That's right. But I mean, to get out there and spend your weekends and time that away from your family
that's the toughest part.
Yeah, not just to educate other families about the risks of tech and online behavior and platforms, but it's also, man, I just think sharing your story really brings it home to where folks are like, this could happen to any one of us, and we need to start being more diligent.
Yeah.
In our roles as parents, but also teachers, right? Because we've talked about this before. It takes a village, right? And teachers are in that village.
2 of the members where I spoke at that were school board members had it happen to their kids, just never spoke up about it.
Yeah, right.
So they didn't realize how close or how tragic things could become. But then they've spoken up, and they're interested in getting me up to their schools. And I try to talk, I usually talk at least once a week in regards to that. After we get done here today, I've got to go up to Charlotte to give a presentation as well.
Yeah, so, and again, that's one of those things that sort of, get lost in the shuffle, is the time that doing the public service takes from your family time or your work and all those types of things. So
it's a mission.
Thanks for making the sacrifice.
Thank you.
I mean, seriously.
The hardest part's missing the kids.
I know.
Like,
and
being gone 10 days and not seeing them.
Right. But it was great to see Callie while we were both filing today. And again, I'll say this as a message to all candidates. I met a guy today that's running, I think, for county council. I've never met him before. Nice gentleman out of the western part of the county. And I told him, I said, hey, this is your first time running for public office. I'm not too far removed from that. Thanks for having the courage to put your name on the line. Win, lose, or draw, man. Enjoy the experience. Take advantage of it. Go get out to know your neighbors at a minimum, right? Even
he stole that from Ralph Norman.
What? What?
No, Ralph just always said, like, hey, appreciate it. It takes courage to put your name on the line.
I
always respected it, but it was just like the constant thing.
But yeah,
it is true.
And again, that goes beyond party lines. That goes beyond whatever office you're holding. Folks, this job takes away from your personal selfish wants and desires because you got to serve others in front of that. And so anyone considering or out there already put their name on the line, hey, thank you.
I honestly don't think people realize how much time it takes.
I was lied to as well.
Especially the people that are like, you work for me. Why hadn't you done this? Why hadn't you It's like, we got a problem here.
Yeah, and again, folks, it is campaign season, and again, sort of, things that get my flag up is when people want to overpromise, right? People say that they will do this or they will do that. The only thing those folks can do is commit to you what they will personally do with their vote or what they personally will do with their time. They can't guarantee victories at all, right? And again, we have the best intentions and I'll share the story again, when we wanted to put mandatory minimums on the fentanyl trafficking bill, that was the first bill out the gate, our very first experience as legislators, and boy, did we run roughshod, hit so many damn walls, step on rakes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, I don't care what y'all do.
And look, it was a learning experience, and we learned that there was, besides us, there was another 122 members that we had to sit and talk to. We had to make one-on-one time with.
Back into the cookie room.
We had to educate members on what mandatory minimums mean just for our districts. I mean, thankful for our solicitor, Kevin Brackett. I remember calling him saying, hey, you need to get your ass down here and educate folks on, the mandatory minimums, the weights, dry weights, and just all the particulars that our solicitor knew. And we gathered, 15 or 20 members in a conference room on the fly. And again, our solicitor came out of Columbia and talked to those 20 folks to educate them. And I think it's efforts like that you have to be willing to make, right?
Well, I mean, you've got to get the votes.
And it's not something, this isn't something that you get thank you notes on all the time, this job.
Yeah.
It's more of you're going to get...
I get something you notes, but not thank yous usually.
It is probably 10-1 insults versus thank yous.
Yeah.
And we're on the wrong end of that.
Especially in our county.
But again, that's fine. That we have talked about this. We don't do it for the thank yous. It's like golf. We talked about it with Pam. Hey, you can shoot 100, but you hit that one fantastic shot. That's the same thing with this job. You help the one person, that one constituent. Maybe if it's someone's not even in your district, but you help that one person who lives in our state, and it's just like, that's the jam there.
That's where you know that you are where you need to be, and you get more and more experience with being able to get it done.
Right. And here to end the show, I'll talk about this. Folks, if you are my constituent in 46 or Guffey's district in 48, or I don't care, if you just have a problem that you need help with, that is our job as state,
email Heath.
As state elected officials, that's our job. I literally had a constituent reach out to me this past week, and it was in regards to getting their education transcripts from a private college, religious college that is now no more.
Is that the same place Elizabeth went?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But so it got, this woman was really trying to further advance. She only had like a year or two of college and wanted to get those transcripts because she's trying to go back to school to get her degree. Well, she's a single mom, 2 kids. I think she's in her mid-30s. She can't get them. She doesn't know who to contact. She's reached out to the Department of Education, got no response. So she's stuck. This woman was about to have to start over. Man, that's a phone call for you and I.
Yeah.
And guess what? The Department of Education folks, they're the experts. They did their job. Now she's got the transcripts.
Right.
Saved her 2 years.
But a lot of times, the advantage is we get to start at the top.
Right.
And work our way down. As opposed to whenever you're needing something done and you're not a representative.
Right.
You're starting at the bottom trying to work your way up.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you got the one person that's got a power trip that wants to hold it up.
Yeah. And so that's my point. That's our job, right? And that is the great part that I really relish in because, a couple of years ago, well, not you. You were a county councilman. You were a big dude, big shot. But I was just a regular Joe too. And it would frustrate the hell out of me that I didn't know there's no government agency roadmap. I didn't know where to go. We probably implement AI on that by now, but we haven't. But that's what we do. That's our job.
Yeah.
And that's the great part about helping people. And so that's the one 300-yard drive.
Well, that's the advantage of having people that have been in office longer, like a Dennis Moss, like Tommy Pope in our district.
Yep.
Whenever we're struggling and banging our heads against the wall, like, okay, well, why can't I get this done? And it's amazing. You can talk to Tommy. He's like, oh, yeah, just talk to this person.
Yeah.
Or Dennis like, hey, did you call him?
There's a lot of wisdom in
you know?
it.
Yeah.
For folks yelling swamp and this, that, and the other, again, if you got good personal relationships with folks who've been there longer than you, a lot of times they are more than willing to give you a hand. So, thanks for listening. That concludes our show.
Tune in to pintsandpolitics.show. Continue to like, subscribe, share.
Yep.
And for those that still think we only have 2 listeners, we called out our local party on some of the hypocrisy, and it was funny. They kind of came back and reposted our post to make the example, or to try to show an example.
We did say that.
But I can tell you, we're getting more views in a day than they're getting in a month.
Yeah.
So I think we're all right.
Yeah, in York County GOP, if you want to sponsor, you're more than welcome. Contact us. Come sponsor the show. And you can do any of your personal endorsements that you like, but just no filters. Okay?
No filters.
No filters at all.
And you will learn exactly how I'm not bought and paid for, because I will not shut the hell up about you as long as you're being hypocrites.
No. So, man, we didn't even talk about Silfab. Kidding. Y'all, thanks for listening. Thanks for Coleman Distributing for, again, supplying a pretty good beer.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I'd have another.
The first sip was strong, but once you got past that first sip,
that's right.
Nice and tasty.
That's right. So go check out Dogfish Head Craft Brewery Seaquench Ale.
Yep.
With lime.
And y'all stay safe out here. We're in the middle of storm watch right now. So hopefully everyone's safe, and this will come out tomorrow.
Y'all have a good week. Thanks for listening.
Lies on ice cold, all facts with a little bite. No ivory tower, no pilot spin, just crack glass talk in a one down pen, break it slow. Let the real ones speak, pints and politics every damn week. Yo.